The desert world was quiet under a pale sky. Wind carried dust across empty plains, and the sun burned above the horizon like a golden coin. In the middle of this harsh land stood a small village. The houses were made of stone and clay, built close together for shade. Life here was slow, and the people lived by stories passed down through generations. The most powerful story among them was about the golden cenote. Myra stood at the edge of the village with her team. She was a young explorer, her eyes sharp and curious. Unlike many, she believed every tale had a seed of truth. She had traveled across many worlds, following faint rumors of old alien ruins. Now she was here, because the villagers spoke of a sacred well, a deep cenote that glowed with light at night. They said it held treasure, but they also said it was cursed. Tom, her teammate, adjusted his gear. He was strong and practical, always reminding Myra to be careful. "This place looks peaceful, but I do not like how people keep staring at us," he muttered. Hannah, the third member of the group, gave a small smile. She was calm, good at reading people, and often balanced Myra's daring with kindness. "They are not staring out of hate," Hannah said. "It is fear. They do not want us to go near the well." The three walked through the narrow streets. Children ran past them, but when the explorers asked about the cenote, the children grew silent and ran away. Finally, an elder stepped forward. His hair was silver, and his face carried lines of both wisdom and sorrow. He introduced himself as Elder Nero. He welcomed the strangers politely but warned them at once. "You came for the golden cenote," he said in a low voice. "I must tell you what it is. Long ago, outsiders came to dive into it. They never returned. The water swallowed them. Some nights, we still hear their voices from below. Do not disturb the well, or it will punish you too." Myra listened closely. The way the elder spoke did not feel like myth to her. It felt like a memory, a piece of history turned into legend. She asked gently, "Has anyone seen the treasure with their own eyes?" Nero shook his head. "No one dares go deep. At the surface you may see faint golden light when the moon is full. That is enough to remind us it is sacred." The villagers gathered around, whispering prayers under their breath. Myra looked at Tom and Hannah. They had all heard stories before, but something about this one was different. The cenote was not just a well. It was alive with mystery. That evening, as the sun dipped low and shadows stretched across the sand, the three explorers walked to the edge of the cenote. It lay at the far side of the village, surrounded by tall stones arranged in a circle. Vines clung to the rocks, and the air grew cooler near the water. The opening was wide, a black mouth leading into the unknown. Myra leaned forward and saw her reflection trembling on the surface. As darkness came, a faint glow rose from the depths. Golden ripples danced across the water. It was not fire, and it was not reflection. It was as if the cenote had its own heartbeat of light. Tom frowned. "That is no natural glow. There is energy down there. Maybe technology." Myra's heart quickened. She had been right. This was no ordinary well. It might be a remnant of a forgotten alien age. She thought of the many stories she had followed before, some that led to empty ruins and others that led to nothing at all. But this one felt different. The cenote called to her. Hannah touched her arm. "We must not rush. If the elder is right, the water is dangerous. We should study first." Myra nodded, though her mind burned with questions. She could almost imagine shapes moving under the glow, like shadows of great machines. The cenote was hiding something, and she wanted to uncover it. That night, they returned to the village and rested in a small guest house. But Myra could not sleep. She lay awake, listening to the wind outside. She thought of the elders' words, of outsiders who never returned. Were they swallowed by water, or had they discovered something they were not ready for? She turned these thoughts in her mind until dawn touched the horizon. In the morning, she rose early and walked again to the cenote. The glow was gone, hidden by daylight, but the silence around it felt heavy. She dropped a small stone into the water. It fell deep, then vanished without a sound. The cenote gave nothing back. Hannah joined her and whispered, "I dreamed of golden light. It spread across the land like a river of stars. Maybe it was only a dream, but I think this place holds more than treasure." Myra's eyes stayed fixed on the dark surface. "Yes," she said softly. "It is not only about treasure. It is about what waits at the bottom. I have to see it for myself." The journey to the bottom of the golden cenote was only beginning, but already Myra felt her path was bound to it. Whatever lay below would test them, and perhaps decide if humanity was worthy of the secret the well had kept hidden for so long. The morning sun rose slowly, pouring golden light over the village. The people moved quietly, but every glance they gave toward the strangers carried both fear and curiosity. Myra, Tom, and Hannah prepared their gear outside the guest house. Their packs were filled with ropes, light rigs, scanning devices, and diving suits. To the villagers, it looked like the humans were preparing for battle, though the enemy was nothing more than water. Tom checked the oxygen tanks and spoke in his usual steady tone. "If the cenote has energy below, then our scanners must capture it." But the elder was clear: machines often fail near the well. "We need backup systems for every step." Hannah carefully packed small charms given to her by village children. They had slipped them into her hands silently, perhaps as protection. She tied one charm to her belt and said, "They want us to be safe. Maybe they think these will guard us against the cenote." Myra listened but kept her focus on the goal. If there is truth in the stories, then there is technology at the bottom. Technology that could change everything. We cannot turn back now. The three walked together toward the sacred circle of stones where the cenote waited. Villagers had gathered once more. Elder Nero stood at the front, leaning on his staff. His eyes were full of warning. "I see you are ready. But understand this: you may enter, but the cenote chooses what to return. Remember the voices of those who never came back." Myra bowed her head respectfully. "We hear your warning. We will take care. But we must see what is down there." The elder gave no blessing, only silence. The crowd parted, and the explorers reached the water's edge. The cenote stretched wide, its dark mouth reflecting the clear sky above. Today, even in daylight, faint golden sparks shimmered under the surface. The sight sent a shiver through all three. Tom set up a light rig and lowered it into the water. The beam went down strong at first but flickered after only a few meters. "There. Just like the elder said. Some force disturbs our tools," he muttered. Myra placed a scanner into the water. The device whirred, sending pulses below. For a moment, it showed a clean reading, then static filled the screen. Strange lines of energy appeared like veins of fire. The signal cut out, and the scanner went dead. Hannah frowned. "It is as if something does not want to be seen." Myra's heart raced. Every failure of the machines only proved her theory true. There was something alive with power under the cenote. "Then we go ourselves," she said firmly. Eyes and hands will not fail us the way machines do. They dressed in their suits. The villagers watched in silence, some whispering prayers again. One child cried out, and his mother hushed him quickly, pulling him away. To them, this descent was not brave but foolish. Yet to Myra, it was the only path forward. The team checked each other's equipment. Tom made sure Hannah's breathing mask was sealed. Hannah checked Myra's oxygen tank. Every strap and wire had to be perfect, because a single mistake in the deep water could mean death. When all was ready, Myra stepped forward. The first touch of the cenote water was cold, sharper than she expected in the desert heat. She lowered herself in slowly, until the water swallowed her shoulders. Tom and Hannah followed, their lights clipped to their suits. With a final glance at the villagers above, Myra took a deep breath and descended. The world below the surface was silent except for the sound of bubbles. Their lights cut through the darkness, revealing walls of smooth rock covered with strange vines. The deeper they swam, the colder it grew. Small glowing fish darted around them, leaving trails of blue light. It felt less like a natural cave and more like a tunnel built for another purpose. Myra looked at her wrist display. The depth counter ticked down rapidly. They were far below the surface, but still no bottom. She tried to radio Tom, but the signal was full of static. Only Hannah's voice broke through faintly. "Stay close. Do not drift apart." Shapes moved in the distance. At first, Myra thought they were large fish, but their movements were too sharp, too mechanical. Metallic glints flashed before vanishing into the shadows. Her chest tightened, not from lack of air but from the weight of mystery pressing against her. Tom pointed ahead. A wall of stone appeared, rising from the depths like a massive door. Symbols were carved across it, glowing faintly in the golden light that leaked from cracks around its edges. The carvings looked ancient but carried a strange familiarity, as if Myra had seen them once in old data archives about lost alien empires. The three hovered before the gate, staring in silence. Hannah whispered through the radio, "This is no natural formation. It is a barrier." The water shuddered. A deep vibration passed through their bodies, as if the cenote itself had spoken. Bubbles rushed upward, and the golden glow behind the gate grew stronger. Cracks widened, and for a heartbeat Myra thought it would open. But the tremor stopped, and the glow dimmed slightly. The gate remained closed. Tom's voice was heavy with concern. "We should not push further today. The cenote has shown us enough. This is not just water. It is guarding something." Myra felt torn. Every part of her wanted to push harder, to touch the symbols, to see what was behind the gate. But she also knew one mistake could trap them forever. Reluctantly, she nodded. They rose slowly, leaving the strange gate behind, though its light burned in her memory. When they broke the surface, the villagers leaned forward in silence. Myra pulled off her mask and took a long breath. Her face was pale, but her eyes burned with determination. "It is true," she said simply. "There is something waiting at the bottom. And we will return." The night after their dive, Myra sat by the fire outside the guest house. Flames flickered against the stone walls, but her mind was far from the village. She saw only the glowing gate at the bottom of the cenote. The symbols were burned into her memory. Every line, every curve, felt like a puzzle waiting to be solved. Tom sharpened a small knife with calm, steady hands. He did this not for battle but for focus. "We saw enough," he said finally. "The water shakes, machines move in the shadows, and a gate that looks ready to break. We should leave before it claims us too. Myra's eyes lifted to him, sharp with resolve. You saw what I saw. That gate hides something powerful. It was not built for this village. It is older, much older. If we leave now, the mystery will remain buried forever. Hannah sat nearby, watching both of them. Her voice was soft, but her words carried weight. Myra is right. We cannot turn back. But Tom is right too. The cenote is dangerous. If we go again, we must prepare better. The fire crackled as silence settled between them. In the distance, the villagers sang a low song, asking the spirits for peace. To them, the cenote was sacred. To the explorers, it was a door to truth. The next day, the three worked on their equipment. Tom reinforced the oxygen tanks with spare parts. Hannah adjusted the lights, trying to keep them steady against the strange energy. Myra studied every note she had copied from the glowing symbols. She could not read them yet, but she felt a rhythm in their shape, like a language of energy. By evening, they stood once more at the edge of the cenote. Elder Nero was there, his face grave. He said nothing this time, only looked at them with eyes full of warning. The villagers gathered too, but no one tried to stop them. Perhaps they believed the cenote itself would decide the stranger's fate. Myra tightened her suit. This time we go deeper. We must see what lies behind that gate. The water closed over them again, colder than before. Their lights shone in long beams, cutting through the shadows. The glowing fish appeared once more, circling them like curious guardians. For a while, the descent was smooth. Then the vibrations began. The cenote seemed alive. Waves of unseen energy rippled through the water, disturbing their lights. Tom's display blinked wildly, numbers shifting without sense. He cursed under his breath. The field is stronger today. It does not want us here. Stay steady, Myra said, though her voice was tense. We go together. The deeper they went, the more strange shapes moved in the dark. At first, they looked like large fish again. But when Myra lifted her light, she saw the truth. They were not fish at all. Metallic bodies gleamed faintly. Eyes of pale light blinked back at her. The creatures moved with precision, gliding like machines that had lived in the water for centuries. Hannah gasped softly. They are not alive in the way we know. They are guardians. The machines did not attack but circled slowly, watching. Myra raised her hand as if to show peace. For a moment, the machines stilled, then drifted aside, letting them pass. It was as if the explorers had been tested and allowed to move forward. Finally, the gate appeared again, glowing brighter than before. Cracks of golden light pulsed like veins. The vibrations grew stronger, humming through their bones. Myra swam closer, studying the symbols. Her hand hovered just above the carvings. She felt warmth even through the water, as though the stone itself carried breath. Suddenly, the cenote trembled violently. The gate shuddered, and a deep groan echoed through the chamber. Golden beams burst from the cracks, and the whole place lit up like dawn under water. Tom pulled Myra back. It's opening. We need to move. But it did not open fully. Instead, the fissures widened just enough for a stream of bubbles and light to escape. From within, a shadow stirred. Myra's eyes widened. She glimpsed a massive shape, something waiting behind the barrier. She could not tell if it was a machine, a creature, or something else entirely. The tremor grew worse. Rocks broke loose from the walls above, sinking around them. The water churned, dragging them in circles. Myra fought to keep her balance, but her oxygen mask slipped slightly. Hannah rushed to steady her, gripping her arm tight. They barely escaped as a huge crack split the stone floor nearby. A rush of golden water surged upward, pushing them toward the surface. The gate closed again with a heavy boom, and the glow dimmed, returning to its faint heartbeat. When the three broke the surface, they gasped for breath. Villagers rushed to the edge, eyes wide with fear. The explorers pulled themselves onto the stone, dripping and shaken. Myra lay back on the ground, staring at the sky. Her voice was low but steady. It tried to open. Something is down there, something alive. Tom shook his head, anger mixing with fear. Alive or not, it nearly killed us. We should not return. But Myra already knew she would. The glimpse of shadow behind the gate had burned into her mind. It was not just treasure. It was a secret waiting for humanity to uncover. And she would not leave it behind. The air in the village was heavy after the second dive. Word spread quickly. The strangers had gone deeper than anyone before them. They had seen the gate, they had returned alive, but the cenote had shaken as if angry. Some villagers whispered that the strangers had awakened a spirit. Others said the cenote was warning them to leave. Myra sat in the guest house, staring at her wet notes. Drops of water had blurred the sketches of symbols she had drawn, but she remembered every line. The glow, the tremors, the shadow moving behind the gate, they filled her with both fear and wonder. Tom paced the room, restless. We cannot keep pushing. That gate is a warning. It does not want us there. Myra looked up sharply. It is not a warning. It is a door. Doors are meant to be opened. Hannah sat between them, her calm voice steady. We all felt it. Something stirred when Myra touched the carvings. The cenote is alive in some way. But we must be sure before we take the next step. If it opens fully, we must be ready. Myra leaned forward. Ready for what? Treasure? A machine? A creature? We cannot prepare for something we do not know. But I know this: the cenote is waiting for us. It has been waiting a long time. That night, Myra dreamed of light. She stood under the water, facing the glowing sphere she had only glimpsed through the cracks. It pulsed like a heart, each beat sending ripples of gold across the cenote. The light reached out to her, touching her chest. She woke with her heart racing, certain the dream was not only her imagination. At dawn, they returned to the sacred circle. The villagers gathered in silence. Some carried offerings of flowers and fruit, laying them near the water as if to calm the spirit below. Elder Nero stepped forward, his voice low and grave. Strangers, you have tested the cenote twice. It shakes and roars because of you. Do not return. You will bring disaster on us all. Myra bowed her head out of respect, but her resolve did not change. Elder, we mean no harm. But what lies below is not only your burden. It may belong to all people. We must see it. The elder's face hardened, but he stepped aside. The villagers did not cheer nor bless them. They only watched in silence, as if waiting to see whether the cenote would swallow the strangers this time. Once again, the explorers lowered themselves into the cold water. The descent felt heavier than before, as though the cenote pressed against them. The glowing fish returned, circling faster, their light stronger. The machines in the shadows moved too, following at a distance. When they reached the gate, the glow was no longer faint. Golden light poured from the cracks, bright enough to blind them if they looked too long. The water throbbed with a deep hum. Myra swam closer, her hand hovering above the carvings. This time, she pressed her palm against one of the symbols. Heat spread through her glove, then into her arm. Her heart raced, but she did not pull away. The carvings lit up under her touch, one by one, until the entire gate burned with golden light. The hum deepened into a roar. The gate trembled, then split down the center. Stone and light moved as one, opening slowly. The water surged forward, pulling the explorers closer. Tom grabbed Myra's arm, shouting through the radio, "It is opening too fast. We cannot control it." But Myra could not look away. Behind the gate was a chamber glowing with pure gold. At its center floated a sphere of energy, massive and alive. It pulsed like a living heart, sending waves of light across the chamber. Each pulse shook the water, yet it also felt warm, almost gentle. The guardians, those strange metallic fish, swam into the chamber ahead of them. They circled the sphere in perfect rhythm, as if protecting it. Yet when the humans approached, the machines did not attack. Instead, they drifted aside, leaving a clear path. Hannah's voice was hushed with awe. "It is not treasure of gold. It is something greater. A core, a heart, a memory." Myra's breath caught. She felt the sphere looking at them, though it had no eyes. It reached out, not with hands but with light. Tendrils of gold stretched through the water, curling gently around them. For a moment, Myra feared it would burn. Instead, warmth spread through her suit, through her chest, through her mind. Visions flashed before her eyes. She saw a great alien city, towers of crystal shining under twin suns. She saw fleets of ships powered by the same golden light. She saw war, fire, and the shattering of worlds. Then she saw the cenote itself, long ago, as aliens lowered the glowing sphere into its depths to hide it from destruction. Myra gasped and tore her hand away. The visions ended, but the warmth remained. She looked at Tom and Hannah. Their faces showed the same shock. They had seen it too. Tom's voice shook. "It is not just a machine. It remembers. It is alive." The sphere pulsed brighter, as if answering him. The water swirled gently, pulling them closer. Myra felt no fear now. She felt chosen. "It has been waiting," she whispered. "And now it has found us." The water inside the chamber was brighter than daylight. Golden waves pulsed from the sphere, flowing over the walls of stone and through the bodies of the explorers. Myra, Tom, and Hannah drifted in silence, caught between fear and awe. Myra's hand trembled as she reached out again. The sphere pulsed warmly, but then the light turned sharp. In an instant, vision struck them all at once. They were no longer in water. In their minds, they stood on a vast plain under a broken sky. Alien towers burned in the distance, collapsing into dust. Strange ships fought above, beams of light cutting the heavens apart. In the center of the chaos, the golden sphere hovered, its glow dim, as if wounded. The vision shifted again. The explorers now stood before beings tall and armored, with eyes like fire. These beings reached for the sphere, but it resisted, thrashing with light. They shouted in a language the humans could not understand, but their anger was clear. They wanted to use the sphere as a weapon. The vision ended as quickly as it came. Myra gasped, gripping her mask. Tom clutched his head. Hannah pressed her hand against her chest as if calming her heart. Tom's voice was rough. "It showed us its past. It has been used before. Wars, destruction, death. This is not treasure, Myra. It is a curse. Myra shook her head, her eyes still glowing faintly from the visions. No. It is not the curse. The curse was the greed of those who wanted it. The sphere fought against them. Did you not see? It resisted. It does not want to be a weapon. As if hearing her words, the sphere pulsed again. This time the golden tendrils stretched around them, forming a circle. The water shuddered, and the light pressed against their bodies. It was not attack, but challenge. Hannah's voice came softly through the radio. It is testing us. The chamber grew violent. The water spun in strong currents, dragging them apart. Myra fought against the pull, her arms burning as she reached for her teammates. Tom was thrown against the stone wall. Hannah spun helplessly in the current. Myra's lungs ached as she pushed forward. She caught Hannah's hand and pulled her close, then reached out for Tom. He was struggling with his oxygen mask, the current pressing him down. With all her strength, Myra pulled both of them into a tight circle. The moment they joined hands, the current slowed. The sphere pulsed brighter, and the chamber steadied. The test had changed. This time, the light struck their minds again. They saw more visions. Not war, but trials. Groups of people from long ago stood before the sphere. Some turned against each other, fighting for control. The sphere rejected them, sending them into darkness. Others worked together, standing as one. The sphere embraced them with light, but only for a moment, as if none had been worthy for long. Myra understood. It is not looking for strength. It is looking for unity. That is why it brought us here. Tom's breathing was heavy, but he nodded slowly. If we break apart, we fail. If we stay together, maybe it accepts us. Hannah's eyes were calm, though her face was pale. Then we stay together. The sphere sent another wave, stronger than before. The water grew hot, then cold, then hot again. Cracks opened in the stone walls, and streams of bubbles burst around them. Sharp metallic guardians darted through the water, circling faster. The chamber became a storm. Myra gripped her teammates tighter. She shouted through the radio, her voice fierce. Hold on. Do not let go. They fought against the storm, their arms burning, their lungs aching. The golden light pressed harder, trying to break them apart. But each time the force pulled, they pulled back, holding tighter. At last, the pressure eased. The chamber stilled. The golden sphere pulsed gently, almost like a sigh. The tendrils of light wrapped around them once more, not as chains but as embrace. Warmth filled their bodies, steady and calm. They felt no more fear. Instead, they felt seen. The sphere spoke not with words, but with feeling. They sensed its message deep inside. It had waited for ages, hidden in the cenote, guarding itself against greed and war. It did not want masters. It wanted guardians. It wanted trust. Myra's heart swelled. She looked at Tom and Hannah, and for the first time she saw no doubt in their eyes. They had been tested, and they had passed together. Tom's voice was low, but steady. It accepts us. Hannah whispered, it has chosen. The golden light grew stronger, rising up through the water toward the surface. Far above, the villagers gasped as the cenote glowed like dawn, golden ripples spreading across the land. To them, it was a miracle. To Myra and her team, it was a bond. They floated in silence, bathed in light, knowing that their lives had changed forever. The golden glow rose through the cenote like a second sun. On the surface, the villagers gathered at the edge, whispering in awe as the light reflected off the stone walls and trees above. Some fell to their knees, believing they were watching a holy sign. Others shielded their eyes, afraid of what it might mean. Deep below, Myra, Tom, and Hannah still floated inside the chamber. The sphere pulsed slowly, as though breathing. The warmth it gave off no longer felt like fire. Instead, it was calm, like the steady beat of a heart. Myra's voice broke the silence. "It trusts us now. But what does it want from us?" As if answering, the sphere projected new visions. The explorers saw rivers drying, forests burning, and cities falling under storms. But then they saw the opposite: green fields returning, rivers flowing strong, skies clearing of smoke. Each image tied back to the sphere, its golden light healing or protecting. Hannah spoke softly. "It is showing us what it can do. It can destroy, but it can also restore. It depends on who holds it." Tom frowned, his voice heavy. "And that is the danger. If the wrong people find out, they will come. They will fight to control it." The thought pressed on all of them. The sphere was not just treasure. It was power. More than money, more than gold. Whoever had it could shape the future of the world. Myra clenched her fists. "Then we do not let anyone take it? We protect it? That is what it chose us for." The chamber shook slightly, as if agreeing. The golden tendrils reached out once more and wrapped gently around their arms. They felt a surge of strength and clarity. It was not painful, but it was binding, like a pact. Above, the villagers gasped as golden ripples reached the surface. Old plants near the edge began to bloom again, leaves spreading fresh and green. The air smelled clean, as if the cenote itself had awakened. Word spread quickly through the village. They called it a blessing from the ancestors, a sacred gift. When Myra, Tom, and Hannah finally rose from the cenote and climbed out onto the rocky ground, the people surrounded them. Men and women bowed, children pointed in wonder, elders whispered prayers. One old woman stepped forward. Her voice was thin but strong. "You have entered the sacred well and returned. None in many generations have dared. You carry the light. What did it ask of you?" Myra looked at Tom and Hannah. She could not tell the whole truth, not yet. If people learned the full power of the sphere, greed would follow, just like the visions of old wars. So she bowed her head respectfully and said, "It asked us to protect. To keep balance. To guard what is below." The villagers nodded solemnly, accepting her words. Some even seemed relieved. They had always feared outsiders would come for the cenote. Now, they believed guardians had been chosen by the well itself. That night, the village celebrated. Fires were lit, drums echoed through the trees, and food was shared freely. Myra, Tom, and Hannah sat together on a wooden bench near the fire, their faces lit by the warm glow. But beneath the joy, their thoughts were heavy. Tom leaned closer and whispered, "Do you really think we can protect it? News travels fast. The glow in the sky will be seen for miles. Maybe more. What if others already know?" Hannah nodded slowly. "He is right. Secrets cannot stay buried for long. Scientists, governments, even hunters of power, they will come." Myra stared into the fire. Her mind replayed the vision of armored beings fighting for the sphere long ago. History had shown what greed could do. But the sphere had chosen them, and she would not let fear undo that choice. "We cannot control who comes," Myra said firmly. "But we can choose how we stand. If they come for war, we resist. If they come for peace, we decide if they are worthy. That is what guardians must do." The others were quiet, but her words gave them strength. Later, when the villagers slept, the three explorers returned to the cenote's edge. The glow had faded, but the water still shimmered faintly with golden lines, as if the sphere's light now lived in the stone itself. Tom crouched and touched the water. "It is not just in the chamber anymore. The whole cenote is alive with it." Hannah studied the ripples. "That means anyone who studies the water will find traces of its energy. It will not stay hidden." Myra stood tall, her silhouette outlined by the moonlight. "Then we must be ready. This was only the first test. The real test will be when the world comes looking." A cool wind swept across the jungle, carrying the scent of flowers newly awakened by the golden light. The cenote glowed softly, like a lantern waiting in the dark. The three of them stood in silence, feeling both the weight of their task and the hope of their bond. They were no longer explorers searching for treasure. They were guardians of something far greater, something the world was not yet ready to hold. And in the depths below, the sphere pulsed gently, as if listening, waiting for the future it had now tied to them. The jungle was never silent, yet on that night it felt uneasy. The hum of insects was broken by the distant thrum of engines. Myra, Tom, and Hannah stood near the cenote's edge, their faces tied with worry. Word had spread faster than they had feared. Outsiders were already here. Headlights cut through the trees. Trucks rolled into the clearing, and men stepped out carrying equipment. Some wore uniforms, others the sharp suits of officials. Behind them came scientists with cameras and tools. They looked at the glowing cenote as if they had found a miracle and a prize. One officer raised his voice. "We are here under authority. This site will be studied and secured. Stand aside." The villagers crowded around, murmuring with anger. The old woman from before stepped forward, leaning on her staff. "This is sacred ground. You have no right." The officer ignored her and motioned to his men. They began setting up lights and machines, preparing to descend into the water. Myra stepped forward, her heart pounding. "You cannot take what is down there. It is not for power or control. It must be protected." The officer smirked. "Protected? From who? From progress? From science? You are explorers. You should understand discovery belongs to everyone." Tom clenched his fists. "It does not belong to everyone. It chose us. And it will destroy those who come with greed." Hannah's voice was calm, but sharp. "Turn back before it rejects you." The officer laughed, but his men hesitated. The glow from the water seemed alive, and some felt uneasy. Still, greed pushed them forward. Myra realized words would not be enough. She looked at her friends. "If we fail now, the world will repeat the mistakes we saw in the visions." Tom nodded. "Then we hold the line." Hannah whispered, "Together." The three of them moved to the cenote's edge, standing like sentinels. The villagers gathered behind them, holding torches and sticks, their courage rising. The officer shouted again, ordering his men to advance. As they stepped closer, the cenote stirred. Golden ripples spread across the water, brighter than before. The outsiders froze, startled by the sudden light. From the depths, tendrils of gold rose like mist. They curled upward, twisting through the air, and then sank back into the cenote as if waiting for a command. Myra felt the connection in her chest, a bond to the sphere below. It was asking her. She closed her eyes and thought with all her strength. Show them the truth. The cenote answered. Golden light burst upward, casting the clearing in brilliance. Everyone shielded their eyes. In that light, visions appeared not only to Myra, Tom, and Hannah, but to everyone. They all saw the wars of the past, the destruction the sphere had resisted, the cities burned by greed. Then they saw the healing power, the rivers restored, the forests renewed. The message was clear. The outsiders stumbled back, pale and shaken. Some dropped their equipment. The officer shouted, but his voice cracked with fear. Even the villagers trembled, yet their hearts grew strong. When the vision faded, silence fell. The cenote glowed gently, waiting. Myra stepped forward, her voice steady. You have seen it? This is not treasure. It is not a weapon. It is life itself. If you come with greed, it will reject you. If you try to force it, it will destroy you. The only way forward is to protect it. The officer's face twisted with anger. But he could not deny what he had seen. His men would not move. Some even backed away toward the trucks, unwilling to challenge the light. One scientist, her hands trembling, spoke quietly. She is right. This is beyond us. To use it is to risk everything. The villagers lifted their torches higher, their voices rising. Guardians, guardians, they chanted, calling Myra, Tom, and Hannah by the role they had claimed. At last, the officer gave a bitter order. Fall back. We will report what we found. His words carried frustration, but also defeat. The outsiders withdrew, their trucks rumbling back into the jungle, leaving the cenote untouched. When the last engine faded, the clearing fell quiet again. The villagers cheered, relief and pride filling the night air. The old woman approached Myra, Tom, and Hannah. Her eyes glistened in the firelight. You have done what no one else could. You are chosen indeed. The three explorers stood at the edge of the cenote, looking into its golden depths. The sphere pulsed faintly, like a heart at rest. Tom exhaled slowly. We faced them and won. But more will come. This is not the end. Hannah nodded. The test never ends. But neither does our bond. Myra placed her hand over her chest. She felt the warmth of the sphere within her, not as a burden, but as a promise. Then we stay ready. Guardians forever. The wind rustled through the jungle leaves. The cenote shimmered under the moonlight, calm yet powerful, as if watching over them. And so the story of the golden cenote did not end with treasure taken or power stolen. It ended with three humans who chose to protect rather than possess. In their choice, humanity proved worthy, and for the first time in ages, the sphere of light was not alone.